Hi, ni hao. Welcome to episode one of China Unraveled. Here we look at modern Chinese history through different political perspectives.
Today we'll focus on a nation at odds. We will be analyzing and discussing the Chinese Civil War, also known to some as the Chinese Communist Revolution.
I'm one of your co-hosts, Dr. Zhang, and I'm a representative of the Nationalist Party of China, the Kuomintang, or the KMT.
And I'm your other co-host, Dr. Li, a representative of the Chinese Communist Party, or the CCP.
Now let's jump right into it.
When discussing the Chinese Civil War, it's important to be cognizant of the parties involved, that is, the national parties and their leaders.
Yeah, my party, the KMT, was established around the 1910s and it was led by Jiang Jieshi. The KMT was the ruling political party in the Republic of China at the start of the war.
Well, there wasn't much opposition in a one-party state.
That's ironic, since your party wasn't exactly democratic either.
Anyways, my party, the CCP, was founded in 1921. What many don't know is that most members of the CCP, including its leader Mao Zedong, were part of the KMT prior to the Civil War.
Oh yeah, the KMT and the CCP were united under the First United Front to fight the proliferation of warlords in China. But the CCP, being the smaller party at the time, wanted to spread communism and gain more power. However, the KMT, and especially Jiang Jieshi, understood the need to have full control over the CCP. This is what led to the split.
Jiang Jieshi and the KMT were the ones who desired power and controlled too much. In 1927, they expelled all communists from the party and started the Shanghai Massacre of April 12th. On this day, the KMT arrested, disarmed, and executed local communists and opened fire on protesters. Thousands were killed.
Yes, now I remember. That was the spark that started the CCP's uprising, wasn't it? They formed a revolutionary Red Army and basically commenced the Chinese Civil War.
The war was inevitable. China had been suffering for years of mismanagement and neglect by the KMT. This led to widespread bureaucratic corruption and a wealth and power gap between landowners and the peasantry, all because of the KMT supporting the upper class and its officials.
Support was needed. Jiang Jieshi didn't favor the upper class, he just understood its necessity.
Well, this necessity of yours led to an uprising from the peasants against the KMT. Mao Zedong said this himself. The ruthless economic exploitation and political oppression of the peasants by the landlord class forced them into numerous uprisings against its rule.
Well, however, despite all of this, the CCP was still losing against us. The Red Army only just barely survived advancements from the KMT.
Yeah, we were losing, I guess. But then, boom, World War II happened.
That's true. The CCP and the KMT were forced to form the Second United Front against Japanese invaders. And the communists were then given time to recoup and rest.
Hey, we weren't just resting. We proved to be much more militarily capable than the KMT forces and had more decisive victories over the Japanese troops. This is how we improved the population's image of us. The CCP also garnered heavy support with the peasantry after meeting many of them while traveling across China. We treated them better and gave them more of a voice in decision making.
Well, whatever your party did, it seemed to have worked, because the war eventually worked out in your favor. The Second United Front ended in 1941 and marked the beginning of the end and the CCP's rise to power. In 1949, Jiang Jieshi, national soldiers, supporters, and a lot of other people all fled to Taiwan as the CCP swept over China.
After a brutal civil war that killed more than 6 million people, Mao Zedong would triumphantly proclaim the formation of the People's Republic of China, becoming the supreme leader of the country as well. And yes, communism was implemented as mainland China's main form of government.
Then Taiwan was established as the Republic of China. Most Western countries and the US still supported us, and diplomatic ties with Western countries and mainland China were cut until around the late 20th century.
That's right. Then Western countries began recognizing us as the rightful Chinese state, including your good friend, the United States, in 1979.
Okay, anyways, I suppose it is true that the CCP changed China, such as their ill attempt at recreating a Soviet-inspired industrial economy, better known as the Great Leap Forward. Mao Zedong started collective agricultural communes and instituted a policy of backyard steel furnaces. The resulting Great Chinese Famine of 1959 to 1961 was the deadliest famine in human history, killing between 30 to 55 million people.
Okay, but the Great Leap Forward was also revolutionary for its time, you know. During the Great Leap, women were freed from their traditional roles as docile wives and were able to work in production. The CCP rejected traditional Confucian ideals. Chinese society and culture was drastically changed under the CCP.
Reminds me of the famous CCP slogan, "Destroy the four olds, bring the four news," originating from a newspaper written by journalist Chen Boda. It was a prevalent phase during the Cultural Revolution that the CCP launched in 1966. The communists wanted to get rid of the aforementioned four olds: old ideas, cultures, habits, and customs. In doing so, they destroyed priceless artifacts, erased important history, and thousands of undesirables and dissidents were all killed.
Well, I think we can at least both agree that this victory of the CCP in the Civil War brought many deep intrinsic changes to China. In fact, the very way we write Chinese changed due to the choices made by the CCP.
Yeah, I can agree to that. These issues are still very pertinent to this day. There are still two separate Chinas, one on the mainland and one in Taiwan. Their societies and histories are so vastly different from each other. Their futures are still so uncertain.
For sure. There's much to think about, you know. Well, that's it for episode 1 of China Unraveled. Thank you for tuning in today as we discuss the Chinese Civil War, a nation at odds.
See you next time. 再见.